Shabbat Perek Chet Mishnah Daled. We continue studying the different minimum measurements of different items or different materials. What the minimum amount is that you'd have to take from Rishut to Rishut in order to be Chayav on Shabbat. Mishnah says Debek. Let's say you want to take glue from Rishut HaRabim to Rishut HaYachid or vice versa. How much do you need? Kedei litain b'rosh hashav shevet. Shav shevet is a twig or a perch. Let's look at the Bartanura. Tzayadim moshivim neser katan b'rosh kaneh. They place a small neser, a small piece of wood on the top of a reed or top of a rod. He's basically describing a perch. Neser katan b'rosh kaneh. I'll show you a perch of a bird. Move me. Okay. This is the neser katan b'rosh kaneh. So they would make a perch, so the people that wanted to trap, and then they would put devek, they would put glue over here, like some glue, not a small amount it must be. They would put glue here, so that when the bird would, not the eagle, but when the bird would land over there, then it would stick. That's what the Bartanura says. Notin aleha devek, you'd put on a glue, and the bird would sit on it and get stuck. Okay, but you have to put a lot of glue so that the oaf would be nigbakbo. So that's how much devek you need in order to put on the shav shevet. On the bird perch trap. That's what shav shevet is. Zefet vigofrit. If you need pitch or sulfur, kadei lasot nekev. In order to make a hole. Now we need the Bartanura again. Klishim isimibo kesef chai. They had a certain vessel that they would place, that they would use it in order to, I guess, melt silver. Okay, vesotem piv, and they would stop up the entrance, the hole of this special kli, this special utensil, bezefet o gafrit, with pitch or sulfur. And so that you would have this, this vessel, and they would put the pitch and sulfur, they would stick it in, and then they would make a tiny hole because they would want to be able to control how the silver would come out while it's still gezoiling hot. Sha'ava, wax, in order, but they would use it as a stopper for bottles on a small hole. So that's how much wax you would need. Okay, in order to have a small hole. Charsit. Charsit is clay. Okay. Kedei la'asot pikur shel tzorfei zahav. That's pikur. Asot pikur. They would melt gold. So they would have this kli, I guess. They would have this utensil. And in the utensil you had a mapuach. And mapuach is the billows. Okay, so there was a hole in the billows. And mapuach nichnasbo. The mapuach would enter. So you'd have to have enough charsit. Enough charsit is leveinak tusha. They say clay, but the Bartanura says it's crushed brick, I guess mixed with water, to make lasot pikur, to make the hole specifically to wrap around where the billows would go into the side of this kli, in order, the billows, in order to make sure that you would have a constant blow. So that's how much charsit you needed. Let's go on. That's Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says kedei la'asot pitput, in order to make pitput. Pitput is the base, the regel, the foot of this utensil. I have no idea how it looks. Now it's interesting. The Mishnah Behira that I can't show you, he makes it look like some kind of urn. We know what an urn looks like, and then they had the billows on this side. I don't know. It's impossible to know exactly what it looked like. Subin are bran, and it's really unusual. They would either put the bran on top of the fire inside this big gold thing, or they would put it on top of the gold thing to keep the heat, whatever. Kedei litain al pi kur shel tzorfei zahav. You had to have enough to put on the core of the tzorfei zahav, on this gold melting core, this gold melting furnace. Seed is, we said, lime. Kedei lasud ktana shebabanot. In order to put enough lime on the smallest of girls. Why would they put lime on girls? Bartanura says, banot shigiu lipirkan. If a girl arrived at the age of maturity, but she didn't begin to menstruate. She's not able to marry yet. She had the external symbol, the hair, the pubic hair of a girl, of a woman, but she's not a woman yet. So therefore, they wanted to prevent her from looking like a woman yet. So benot aniyim, poor girls, toflot otam besid, they would put lime on them. Okay, ve'ha'orech mimeher lavo, and this they believed would cause her menstrual cycle to come quickly. It would accelerate the situation. And it would remove the hair. Does it work medically? I have no idea, but that's what they would do. Okay, so you have to have enough sid in order to smear her with the lime. Rabbi Yehuda says, enough to cover her temples. So they would put it on her temples in order for the hair to come off her temples, I guess. It was, if women grew sort of facial hair, they would take it off. Rabbi Nechemia Omer kedei lasot andifi. What is andifi? Lemata mita atzedaim. Lower than the temples a little bit. He says, the Bartuda says, shkivet asayar. In order to tamp down the hair. Maybe they would take it to take off hair on the face or whatever. I'm not sure. It's interesting to note that all these things in the Mishnah, Shabbat, they're different. The Bartuda brings a couple of different explanations. Pikur, kedei la'asot pikur, kedei litein al pi nekir katan. Okay? We said gafri kedei la'asot nekir. We had it to make a hole. But, it's not entirely clear. I just want to point out, and these things in the Mishnah, they're wonderful and interesting, but in the times of the Mishnah, everybody knew what these things are. And now, so many hundreds of years, thousands of years later, we're just really kind of guessing in order to try to figure out how much devik, what kind of glue was it. We don't really know these things, which is why we learn these Mishnah in a sort of superficial way. But they have no meaningful halachic ramifications today. We'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, as always, please feel free to me at my email address, rspolter@gmail.com, and we'll dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rasim Chaim Yitzchak Kalman. Have a good day.